On Friday, the 14th of January, as of 3:03 p.m. Western Indonesian time, rupiah was down by 0.01%, trading at 14,296 per US dollar. Now, meanwhile, the Indonesian composite index closed higher by 0.53% today on Friday, and also gained slightly for the week, up by 0.03% compared to Monday. So as you can see, the IDX closed higher today, but to get an overall perspective of this week's performance at the Indonesian stock market, I spoke with market enthusiast Aline Wiratmaja. Here's my conversation with Aline just right after the market closed. Today on Friday, the 14th of January 2022, the Indonesian Composite Index went up slightly by 0.53. But overall, how did the Indonesian stock market perform this week, especially in the midst of a coal export ban and all its uncertainties? And to discuss more, we are joined by Aline Wiratmaja, a market enthusiast. We're going to be talking about the market review this week. Hi, Aline. Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure, Krishna.
All right, so as I mentioned, one of the most pressing issues this week is the ban on coal exports. There's still a lot of uncertainties regarding whether or not it is being lifted or not. So in your perspective, how has this coal export ban affected the Indonesian stock market this past week, especially the impact on coal stocks?
Yes, Krishna, that's true that export ban is one of the most pressing issues for coal industry, which has affected global stock as well as coal price. Moody's said that the export ban is credit negative for coal companies because it highlights the evolving regulatory uncertainty for the sector. However, Moody's in its report stated that it doesn't see a prolonged industry-wide bans as Indonesia annual domestic coal utilization represents only around 20% to 23% of domestic coal production. And this week, Krishna, we have seen partial relaxation by Indonesian government due to lobbying by other Asian nations, which depends on Indonesian supplies for the coal for their power plants. Ships that were loaded and whose cargoes have been paid for buyers were released for export on Thursday. 18 of the vessels carrying around 1.3 million tons of local secured the verification from Indonesian government. But any coal companies that supplied the departing vessels have not fulfilled their domestic market obligation, DMO, they will be subjected to fines. In the future, the government said that only companies that have fulfilled the 2021 domestic market obligation, or the DMO, will be allowed to start exporting. Government stated that there were 47 miners that had surpassed the DMO requirement and 32 miners that had fulfilled between 75% to 100% of their domestic responsibilities. And how's the coal shares react to this? Investors react to this sentiment. Let's look at the stock of the coal. Let's see, ITMG, Indo Tambang Raya Megah here for the week. We can see that it's still closed higher this week by 3.37% for ITMG. And then let's look at ADRO or Adaro Energy. I think it's different story with Adaro Energy, as Adaro Energy closed lower this week by 6.58%. And then let's look at state-owned Bukit Asam, PTBA. PTBA is climbing this week by only 1.43%. And let's look at Harum Energy, HRUM. Harum Energy closed the market stronger by 3.53%. And back to you, Krishna.
All right, so some have been affected, some have not. But the coal export ban, if it's still ongoing next week, how will that impact coal stocks next week?
Okay, let's take a look at it, Krishna. Indonesian government reiterated that the ban, which was introduced on the 1st of January 2022, has not been lifted. The ban remains in place. It means the export ban runs to the end of the month. As we know, Indonesia has imposed the ban because of the state electricity companies critically low stockpiles. Krishna, government said coal miners failed to meet their domestic market obligation DMO, under which coal companies must supply 25% of its annual production to local market. Under the DMO, the price of domestic coal is capped at 70 US dollar per ton, which is way below the current market prices, Krishna. Actually, Indonesia can benefit from the commodity super cycle, but the potential upside of coal shares has been dragged by the uncertainty due to this government regulations, Krishna.
All right. Now, of course, coal is not the only stocks on the Indonesian stock market. So let's look back at this week at the overall performance of the Indonesian Composite Index, especially in light of other developments, such as the Fed's comments or the US Federal Reserve's comments on interest rate hikes, and also record high inflation in the US. Amid all this, what is your review on the Indonesian stock market's performance in this past week?
Yes, Krishna, let's look at the global market first. Triple threats looms that put equity markets under pressure, especially tech shares in Nasdaq due to high inflation. The Fed has indicated that it will raise rates, taper asset purchases, and reduce the nearly 3 trillion in assets that the Fed is holding. The impact of the Fed's tightening policy risk limited to Indonesian stocks. However, Krishna, Jakarta Composite Index closed only lower by 0.12%. If we can see here, only 0.12% closed lower this week. Healthy correction, we can say, amid the uncertainty. Foreign investor recorded net buy of more than trillion rupiah in a week. Let me confirm, yes, 3.35 trillion rupiah of net foreign buy in a week. And the four most sought after shares by foreign investors are BBCA, 902.7 billion rupiah, BBRI, 310 billion rupiah, ARTO, 207.1 billion rupiah, and TLKM, 177.2 billion rupiah of net foreign buy, Krishna.
All right, that's regarding net foreign buy, but regarding the stocks that performed the best this past week from your perspective, which were some of the stocks that performed well in this past week, and what were some of the factors behind that? Aline.
Yes, it's interesting, Krishna, if you look at the list of this week top gainers, two of them are newly listed companies. ADMR, for example, we can see here Adaro Minerals Indonesia. Only in a week, this stock has booked 107.89% gains. The stock was listed on the 3rd of January 2022. And then we have third liner, Bekasi, the stock is called BAPA, Bekasi Asri Pemula. This is third liner, a stock which which movement is very volatile. And this week we saw the stock rose by 59.4%, Krishna, and we have also another third liner this week, ICTSI Jasa Prima, or KARW, which rose 36.5%.